and both fighting to host not only a regional, but possibly a super regional as we are into the final weekend of the regular season here in the SEC. Omari Harper leads it off and takes strike one. Harper 0 for 3 in the leadoff spot Friday night. And welcome those of you joining us on SEC Network and ESPN. Matt Schumacher, Amanda Scarborough with you for Game 2 of a 3-game set in a top 10 showdown between Texas A&M and Florida. The freshman Ava Brown gets a strikeout of Omari Harper to start the game. And that is exactly what Florida wanted to see, Amanda, after last night getting a great outing, the 22nd win and a complete game victory for Keegan Rothrock.
Yeah, young pitchers in the circle for this Florida team. Ava Brown, just a freshman. A lot of new faces in the Florida pitching staff this year.
Led all year long by 2 freshmen in Brown and Rothrock. Texas A&M had won 8 games in a row coming into this series before losing game 1 last night by a score of 2-1.
And a little change in the Texas A&M lineup, too. Moving Trinity Cannon to the 2 spot. Yesterday, she was in the 5 hole, so not too often that you've seen Trinity Cannon in her long career at Texas A&M bat in this 2 spot. But Tricia Ford mixing things up.
And if you're just joining us on ESPN and SEC Network, Tricia Ford told us before the game, for her team that has been so aggressive this year, Amanda, top 10 in the NCAA in runs scored, she felt like they were pressing a little bit too much last night. Cannon takes strike one. Home plate umpire this afternoon is Chelsea Clark. Marty Abasesian up the first base line, and Dan Rogers over at third. Cannon takes strike 2. Thought it was ball 4, and now a full count from Ava Brown.
Oh, and a missed pitch, too. You saw Jocelyn Erickson set up on the outside corner. That pitch ended up clipping the inside corner, so a missed pitch in location, but it gets Ava Brown right back into the count.
And that is back-to-back strikeouts to start the game for the freshman Ava Brown.
And this one looking, too, and this is what Ava Brown is going to do. She likes to work east and west. So this is her screwball in the inner half, way too close to take with 2 strikes. But Ava Brown likes to work the edges with her curveball and her screwball. She has been the number 2 pitcher on this pitching staff behind who you mentioned, the other freshman, Keegan Rothrock. A lot of experience. And I love the way that Ava Brown competes in the circle. You're going to see her do that up at the plate, too. She is a hitter that can hit for power and do things on both sides of the ball. Big time competitor as a freshman, wants the ball.
And a legit SEC Freshman of the Year candidate, along with her classmate and teammate, Keegan Rothrock, who went the distance last night. As Jasmine Hill digs in with 2 down and the base is empty. Hill coming into this game 2 for her last 20 at the plate. Draws a 4-pitch walk to extend the inning for the cleanup hitter, Julia Cottrell.
Aggies catcher, number 42, Julia Cottrell.
Well, it's an Aggies team averaging over 6.5 runs per game. That's good for top 10 in the NCAA and second in the SEC behind only Florida. And in 6 of their last 8 wins, they have scored 7 or more runs. They put up 17 runs against Alabama. Cottrell, hard hit to short. Skylar Wallace will take it to the second base. Taking on the lefty here, Kendra Falby.
And what you have to worry about, too, with both teams, actually, for Texas A&M and Florida, is their speed. And seeing Kendra Falby run bases and get down the first base line is a thing of beauty with her long strides and the speed that she has. She has 34 infield singles this season, meaning the ball does not leave the infield and she legs it out and gets to first base. I mean, that's how much speed that she had last year. Matt, she only had 22.
Up the middle, that is not an infield single, but through to center field, and Kendra Falby continues her hot hitting. The SEC hits leader now with 75.
And it's why she's so dynamic. So the infield is going to be playing in, and you see Coco Woolley and also Rylan Wiggins pulled more inside the base path, thinking that Kendra Falby is going to slap. Instead, she keeps her feet still. She swings away. More of a power hit through the infield to find a way on.
And watch out for her, 18 for 22 in stolen base attempts this season, with Corby Otis at the dish. Julia Cottrell behind the plate for Texas A&M, of course a former Florida Gator. Spent her first 2 collegiate seasons here in Gainesville. And with the speed of both teams, we fully anticipate the run game being a factor. But particularly with how dangerous Florida has been at the plate, when you allow them to get on, Amanda, they do damage.
I mean, Otis, Walsh, Falby, and Erickson all at the top of the SEC in batting average. And you could argue that 3 of the 4 of those players, I mean, that's nothing against Kendra Falby, but 3 of the 4, and Otis, Erickson, and who am I missing here? And Walsh, excuse me, are potential SEC Player of the Year candidates. And that's with the Skylar Wallace, who actually was the SEC Player of the Year last year. Having a little bit more of a down year, but you have these newer faces in the lineup with a couple of transfers, and Corby Otis and Jocelyn Erickson, and this infusion of freshmen in Florida's offense. And they've been tough this year, scoring a lot of runs and hitting for a high average in power.
I think you call that an embarrassment of riches.
Oh my goodness, no kidding.
Full count to Corby Otis with Kendra Falby at the dish. Otis takes off. This is punched into the gap in right field. Falby is rounding third, and she will head towards home, and there is no throw. Corby Otis puts the Gators on the board first in the bottom of the first.
Tim Walton said coming into this weekend, when Kendra Falby is on, we score, we win. She found a way to get on, and then Corby Otis, who has been so hot all season and so consistent, absolutely crushes this ball to the right side. And, I mean, Kendra Falby is basically at second base. When the ball hits the green, she was put in motion, easily going to be able to score from first base.
Here is Skylar Wallace, the reigning SEC Player of the Year, with Otis in scoring position and nobody out for Florida in the bottom of the first. And how about Corby Otis in the 2 spot, Amanda, now riding a 14-game hit streak. The top of this Gators lineup is lethal.
Yeah, a lot of people think that Florida has the best 1 through 5 in the nation, and that's even going up against the likes of Texas, of Oklahoma. I mean, they're right there with the top offenses and one of the toughest to face.
Wallace over the head of Enright in right field. Here comes Otis around third. The cutoff from Wiggins is high, and it's 2-0 Gators in the first.
Since April 1st, Skylar Wallace, with runners in scoring position, has only been hitting .050. But you knew it was just a matter of time before she started to click and get hot again. We saw it in last night's game with a double to tie up the game, and now we see it to be able to continue to put runs on the board for Florida. Skylar Wallace, last year's SEC Player of the Year.
See standings.
Well, and how big was it to get Jocelyn Erickson from Oklahoma, picked her up in the transfer portal. She wanted to catch more. Of course, at Oklahoma, she was playing behind Kenzie Hansen, an All-American, maybe the best catcher in the country. And so ends up in the portal and comes here, slides right into the cleanup spot and back behind the plate. She's proven herself. I mean, we knew that she could swing it, but I think what she's been bringing back behind the plate for this Gators team has been so special. The way that she receives, the arm that she has, you literally almost can't run against her because she throws out, I think, like 90% of the base runners or would-be base stealers.
She has the top caught stealing percentage in the nation coming into the weekend, has caught 11 of 15. And we didn't see Texas A&M attempt a stolen base last night. They did a hit and run once, and it was unsuccessful. Erickson takes ball 3.
And Tim Walton says, you know, we feel like we're in a good spot, but I don't think that we've played our best softball yet. He said when all 5 of our top hitters get going, he says in one more person, whoever that's going to be, outside of the top 5 of Falby, Otis, Wallace, Erickson, and Walsh.
Right back up the middle. Look what I found, says Shaylee Ackerman. And she needed that one.
Absolutely. And all these balls have been hit so hard in this inning, and for Ackerman to catch that, not easy.
Snow coned it. And that was hard hit too.
I mean, that got on her so quickly. Her glove, though, when she finished balance. Her glove was right there by her leg. This is it, full speed again. Boom. Almost was behind her when she caught it.
If she doesn't get that, that's possibly in the center field. And Wallace, with her speed, coming in to score from second base, makes it 3-0. Instead, 1 down for Reagan Walsh.
Now, Reagan Walsh is a player for Florida that I think gets overlooked a little bit. And I'm not really sure why, because she leads the team in home runs, has 57 RBI. But when you talk about the best hitter in the country, I don't know why. Reagan Walsh oftentimes gets forgotten about, but she deserves to be in that conversation with the year that she's put together.
Riding a 9-game hit streak after going 1 for 3 last night. And top 25 in the NCAA was 16 home runs this year. The 1-2. High pop up, it'll stay in the infield. Woolley puts it away for 2.
It's a big out. If Texas A&M could get out of this inning with the way that Florida has squared up the ball, just giving up 2 runs, that would feel like a win for the Aggies in this game. You see how aggressive, too, that Florida is being. Seen 21 pitches in this inning, but to me it feels like more just with how well that they've struck the ball.
Got the crowd behind it early here at Presley Stadium. And now Ava Brown will try to help herself out with 2 outs and a runner in scoring position. Florida managed just 4 hits last night. They already have 3, but we're not even through the first inning. In game 2, as this is lined into the gap in left field and down for a base hit. Brown drives in another as she chugs into second for a 2-out double.
That is 3 doubles in this inning for Florida, basically just changing places out there from home plate to second base. And see, Ava Brown is going to get this pitch that's more up, but it's out over the plate and just a little bit out in front of that. Didn't completely square it up the way that she's actually capable of, but it finds a gap. Florida scores another run. Now they're up by 3.
4 hits in the inning. Ties what they had all of last night.
I mean, we had a really good pitcher's duel last night between Keegan Rothrock, the freshman, and Emily Kennedy, the junior. Low-scoring game, but even coming into the series, Trisha Ford told us, I mean, I could see these games being 2-1 games or 13-12 games. Both of these teams play with a lot of grit and a lot of fight. So Florida might get down 3, A&M might get down 3, but you never really feel like they're completely out of a game because of that grit, that fight that they have, that competitiveness.
Well, you just said, Tim Walton told us, wait until somebody outside of our top 5 gets going. That's a double for Ava Brown in the 6th spot, and the 3rd double of the game already for the Gators. And Tim Walton told us at this point in the season, we are all gas, no brakes offensively. We've been liable to give up big innings. So when we have an opportunity to get a big inning, we're coming.
Yeah, he said in years past that, you know, where they got that big lead, he might not bunt or might not steal as much, but in this type of year where his pitching staff is giving up some lopsided numbers at times, he's letting his offense just go and just trying to put up as many runs as possible.
Kistler backhanded at first by Harper and races to the bag to end the inning. But
A&M has had the past couple of years and where they finished in SEC play. Their best finish is tied for 3rd several years ago. So trying to play for is today and tomorrow their best finish in SEC play and since they've been in the conference.
Coco Woolley right on top of that, leading off the inning for Texas A&M, who managed just 1 run last night after scoring 7 or more in 6 of their last 8 games. Hoping for better aggressiveness at the plate, particularly earlier in the count today for Trisha Ford's batting order. Up the middle, and that is through into center field. Coco Woolley gives Texas A&M its first base hit of the game.
And Coco Woolley, one of the fastest players in the SEC. Kind of like a Kendra Falby. They both bat from the left-hand side. They both can swing away, too, for a little bit of power, and they can both leg out singles. And there's a speed score from 1 to 10 by 643 charts, and Kiki Malloy in the SEC is at the top. Coco Woolley is second. Then you see Wallace and Falby.
Fly ball left field. Back on it is Otis for out number 1 as Enright flies out to deep left.
Speed being such a big part of both of these teams' offense, and Coco Woolley, one of the fastest players, loves to take extra bases. And I think, Matt, a good point to bring up with the speed score, speed isn't just steals, isn't just looking at how many steals a player has or a team has. It's taking extra bases. It's when there's a sacrifice fly opportunity, being able to score on that, breaking up double plays because of your speed. There's a lot of different factors that go into that speed score, as well as triples and runs scored and several different factors. But base running is such a big part of Texas A&M's offense, as well as Florida, and taking extra bases.
Rylan Wiggins punches this into left field at the wall and gone. And just like that, Texas A&M is back in it in the 2nd.
Yeah, they needed that, a little bit of life in their offense, even going back to last night and then getting down 3-0 in this game. Look at the senior, Rylan Wiggins, saying, come on, get up, let's go. Fun fact about Rylan Wiggins is that her first career home run was hit on this field. And now she hits another one. Comfortable playing here, a veteran senior leader for Texas A&M. They needed a swing like that bad just to have a little bit more momentum get put on their side. The senior steps up and does it.
1-run game. 1 down. And the base is clear for Kramer Eshte. By the way, before that home run, Wiggins was batting 172 in SEC play. Trisha Ford challenged her lineup in the batting cages before the game today. Play free, play without pressure, play Aggie softball. That's the type of hit they needed towards the bottom of their order.
When you look at the road series that Texas A&M has had in SEC play, and just as a reminder, in SEC play, you don't play every single team. You have a set schedule, and there's some teams that you'll play at home, some teams on the road, and then some teams that you don't play at all. But for A&M, they've had to go to three of arguably the toughest road opponents. So they had to go to Baton Rouge and face LSU. They had to go into Tuscaloosa, and then they had to come here to Gainesville. And those are notoriously toughest places to play, not just in the SEC, but in the country.
Ashtay lifts the 1-2 into foul territory.
And all that to say is that they're a little bit more experienced at this point in the season at playing on the road and handling opponents' fans and the pressure and not being on your home field. A&M loves playing at home at Davis Diamond, but when you look at how they went to LSU, got swept, and then went to Tuscaloosa, lost game 1 of that series, won game 2 and 3 in Tuscaloosa, but had a turnaround on the road in that moment to feel more comfortable and play more like themselves on the road.
Trisha Ford told us, look, we got smacked in the mouth at LSU, but that experience prepared us for a series like this one this weekend in Gainesville. And remember, this is an old Texas A&M team. They returned 7 starters from the regional team last year. 6 of their 9 starters, Amanda, are upperclassmen or graduates. It's a seasoned group that's played a lot of softball.
They have, but you know, a lot of them is transfer from UCLA, a transfer from Louisiana, and Kramer Ashtay, a transfer from Arizona State. So some new faces, unlike, you know, Florida has a mix of transfers and freshmen. They have more transfers that they rely on as Ashtay draws that walk. But this is, you know, seeing Texas A&M up at the top of the SEC standings, there is a different target on your back. Seeing the number 8 ranking next to Texas A&M's name on the score bug, that's something that a lot of these players who've been at Texas A&M haven't experienced in their career, and it's a different feeling to be the hunter versus be the hunted. And I think with the turnaround that Trisha Ford has had with this program and finding themselves in the top 10, finding themselves up at the top of the SEC standings, it's just a different game that you get from your opponents. It's Skylar Wallace, a leader for this Florida team, talking to the freshman and Ava Brown. Look like a little bit of a pump-up motivational talk there. I know that Keegan Rothrock has said, and Ava Brown as well, they really rely on the senior Skylar Wallace to be their leader that they need to hear from.
Flair is caught on the run at third, and the double up is in time. Ariel Kalolewski. But already, Amanda, in the first inning against Shaylee Ackerman, 4 hard-hit balls, including 3 doubles.
And it's going to be up to Shaylee Ackerman to hit some more spots like that with her drop ball right at the knees, finding a corner. Florida just looked ready for pretty much everything that she was throwing at them in the first inning, really squaring up all the things.
Ariel Kalolewski leads it off after that epic double play. Turn to end the top of the second inning, caught it on a flare, and doubled up Texas A&M at first base. Florida's been really sound in the field so far in this series.
Yeah, they've turned a couple of double plays, important ones. Seemed like a little bit of a base running mistake to me by Ashtay over at first base, unless she was stealing, which I didn't get a good look, but didn't look like she was stealing. Allowed Florida to turn that double play. There's Ashtay just getting a lead, and not sure if she forgot how many outs there were, if she thought that was going to fall, but wandered too far off of first base and got doubled up. Good communication by the Florida defense to turn 2.
2-2 off the glove of Ackerman. Kalolewski will get to first without a throw. And the 5th base knock of the day for the Gators. And it bears repeating. Each of these 5 base hits have been hard hit balls. Gators are timing up these pitches from Shaylee Ackerman. Mia Williams in the 9 spot. One of 5 freshmen heavily relied upon by 18th year head coach Tim Walton this season. The 0-1. Thought about it, then pulled back.
And you see Matt Shaylee Ackerman's improvement, specifically against top 25 teams this year, has been substantial when you look at the batting average against her and also cutting down her ERA and just about the same amount of innings. So this is a pitcher that they've been able to rely more on in the bigger games, as well as Emily Kennedy throwing so well this year, one of the top pitchers in the country. Through that game last night, the pitcher's duel with Keegan Rothrock. You've seen Shaylee take on a bigger role every year at A&M. She was a pitcher hitter, and then they decided to just go ahead and focus on pitching. And Trisha Ford just saw so much potential in Shaylee Ackerman to get her pitching hands and to get her pitching mind around Shaylee Ackerman, and seeing just how much she's been able to grow these past couple of years with taking hitting away and just focusing on pitching.
That caught Williams in the helmet. And a little bit shaken up, understandably so. It got the bill of her helmet and first the hand, it looked like.
Yeah, it did. You're right. Yeah, hand and then right up to the brim of the helmet. It could just be so scary. So I feel for her. Just, you can get shaken up.
Well, particularly the top of that hand.
Yeah, I mean, both of those can hurt, like just individually if you get hit in the head or if you get hurt in the hand, you know, it just stinks. But getting hit both in one pitch is even worse.
A lot of little bones in the top of your hand.
A lot. Yeah.
That's a no thank you for me.
No.
But Williams stands in.
She's handling it well.
Takes the shot, moves up to first base, and now 2 on and nobody out for Kendra Falby, who, remember, back in the first inning, roped a single up the middle. Falby, the only batter in the Florida lineup who has not moved around in the order. She has been the leadoff hitter at the top of this prolific Florida offense since game 1. To short and sneaks through. Waving around Kowalewski, and now she'll stay put as the bases are loaded with nobody out in the bottom of the second for the Gators. And now the top 3 in the order for Florida are 4 for 4 to start the day, as Corby Otis comes to the plate riding a 15-game hit streak after that RBI double in the first.
Corby Otis's numbers in her first year in SEC play have just been ridiculous. Looking at her on-base percentage, over 500, scored 20 runs, hitting .430 in SEC play. Usually you see a drop-off in batting average in SEC play, and for Corby Otis, I mean, it's just been her consistency that has stuck out to me, no matter the opponent. Non-conference, conference, ranked, non-ranked opponent. Corby Otis has just been the epitome of consistency in the Florida offense.
As the base is loaded with nobody out. And coming into the series at the top on-base percentage in the country, getting aboard nearly 58% of the time. And you referenced her batting average in the SEC and overall top 10 in the country. Lays off the 2-1. Big pitch coming here for Shaylee Ackerman. Her team getting A&M right back into it in the second inning with a 2-run homer. Florida on the cusp of breaking this open in the second. 3-1 just catches the corner for strike 2.
a .491 average for Corby Otis with runners in scoring position. It's a lot of at-bats too this year for her with Risp.
Takes the payoff into left field at the wall, and a grand slam for Corby Otis. Busted open in the second for the Gators.
To get her in the transfer portal, as well as Jocelyn Erickson. Beautiful swing by Corby Otis. Look at how she gets her barrel to that inside pitch and how quick that torque is, that turn on that inner half. Whew, it's a big swing. I mean, Florida has just been so hot, Matt, lately. Their offense, finding ways to score runs. I mean, that Wednesday midweek game against Florida State in Epic, 9-inning, 15-13 win for the Gators on the road. A lot of people were watching that game. Thought that was a big gutsy win for this team. It's been a tough stretch for them past few games, past couple weeks. In terms of the opponents that they've played, I should say.
2-0 count to Skylar Wallace. You talked about it in her first at bat, Amanda. Hit a bit of a wall, but you could say the same thing for this entire Florida team. You mentioned some of the teams that they've had to play against. And in early April, LSU, Alabama, South Florida in the midweek, they struggled a little bit with those teams, but have hopped over the wall, in the words of Tim Walton. And maybe no player embodies that more than the reigning SEC Player of the Year, Skylar Wallace. A 7-2 Gator lead. Nobody out in the bottom of the second. This is what we anticipated from the Gators and, frankly, from Texas A&M coming in to the weekend. Two prolific offenses, two offenses that have been hot. Wallace up the middle. 2 for 2 this afternoon.
You can tell Skylar Wallace just feeling better at the plate. And I think that even when you look at those numbers, Matt, of how she was April 1st to 24th and, you know, how she has been swinging the bat better as of late, I think last year if Skylar would have had those numbers, this Florida team really would have struggled. Their team really revolved around Skylar Wallace and winning and losing and what she did. She had such a monstrous season last year as SEC Player of the Year and one of the finalists for National Player of the Year. But this year, I think that's just where you see the team improvement overall in Florida, is that even though her numbers had dipped a little bit or a lot, the rest of the team just finds a way that they don't skip a beat at all and everybody else just picks up the slack. Complete offense when you just look at what the freshmen are able to do, what the transfers are able to do. Everybody having a role and picking each other up.
Here is one of those transfers, Jocelyn Erickson, over from Oklahoma, where she spent her freshman year after earning Arizona Gatorade Player of the Year in 2023. And what an addition she has been. Last 10 games batting .345, 3 homers, 15 RBI.
Tim Walton actually saw her play for the first time back in 8th or 9th grade and ended up committing to A&M, but ended up committing to OU, but he watched her play so many times when she was growing up.
2-2 into center field. Back on it is Hill, and it's over her head and off the wall. A long single for Jocelyn Erickson as Wallace goes first to third.
so many big swings from Jocelyn Erickson this season. It's this rise ball. Look, Julia Cottrell is already standing up to catch that. Potentially the runner was going on the pitch, but that ball was hit over Jasmine Hill's head, who was playing pretty shallow in center field, so didn't really have a chance to go back and catch that one. It was in the air for a little while. If she was playing a little bit deeper, she may have had it.
Here is Reagan Walsh. Runners at the corners, nobody out. Florida coming off that midweek win against Florida State, in which they scored 15 runs, most ever against the Seminoles. And that was a big win for Florida after the Seminoles had beat them, Amanda, the week before. A little bit of a revenge game, and offense getting hot at the right time coming in against Texas A&M, who up until yesterday stood alone at second in the SEC.
And nothing like squeezing in a couple of midweek rivalry games against a top 12, top 15 Florida State team in between your top 10 series versus Georgia and Texas A&M. I mean, the past week or two for Florida has been such a grind with their schedule and their opponents.
Walsh, a mile high pop up to left field. Estee is under it. Wallace will tag. The throw in is not in time. And the Gators lead it 8-2. One out for Ava Brown, who doubled and drove in a run back in the first. Tim Walton just so proud of the way that she has grown throughout the course of the year in what is one of the most difficult things to do in any sport, and that is hit and pitch in the SEC.
It's a lot to take on, and she's playing first base too when she's not pitching. Has to practice that too. And her SEC numbers, though, when you look at the amount of home runs that she's hit in SEC play compared to just overall in the season, I mean, she's been crushing the ball and SEC opponents just as a freshman.
You hit and pitched.
That's right.
In a very competitive Big 12 with Texas A&M. How did you break that down over the course of the week?
It's so much to balance. You're coming before practice, you're staying late, you're taking extra reps, you're having to find time even outside of your team practice and what everybody else is doing to get in everything and over and beyond of what you need to do. Just a lot mentally.
Runner takes off, throw down from Cottrell is in time, and they catch Erickson trying to go first to second, 2 down.
They're going to actually review this. Tim Walton going right away to the headset, and I think that this might potentially be obstruction on Coco Woolley with block. So not a surprise to me at all with where Coco Woolley situated herself to receive that ball from Julia Cottrell, that would go down as obstruction. Go as a stolen base for Erickson.
Florida down to one more challenge and a full count to Ava Brown. 1 down and a runner in scoring position.
And important to note, too, that you have 2 challenges, even if you win the challenge or lose the challenge.
Would you like to see them change that eventually?
I kind of like to, because then after the 5th inning, the umpires can take it upon themselves. So I'm all for not speeding the game down in any different way. And
That's
I think
a filthy off-speed pitch for a strikeout and a much-needed out number 2.
Yeah, this is a changeup that Emily Levitt is capable of throwing when she's at her best. This is what her changeup looks like. Completely fools Ava Brown on that inner half. Great pitch, great location.
Coming up, we'll have Trisha Ford on the headset on the field. to start the top of the third. Our team trailing by 6 in game 2 of a 3-game set in a top 10 matchup with Florida. And a 2-0 count to Katie Kistler. Should she get on, Ariel Kowalewski, who began the inning, awaits on deck.
Emily Levitt has come in and made some really good pitches here. Gotten some swings and misses with her rise ball. And when her rise is getting some swings and misses and she's able to throw that changeup effectively and fool some hitters, that is when she's at her best.
Three-two to Kistler.
I've been surprised with how quiet this crowd has been, by the way. Like in between pitches, it just is a really eerie feeling when you're just not hearing a decent sized crowd.
If you want to stick around with us, make sure you switch over to SEC Network. If you're watching this right now on ESPN, we will be on SEC Network the rest of the way after the conclusion of the second inning. To your point, Amanda, we have seen the eruption of this crowd a few times. That grand slam earlier this inning by Corby Otis, of course, giving Florida a 7-2 lead. It's been sort of ho-hum since then, though. We've had a base hit, a fly out. The heat may have something to do with it. No wind at all. 3-2 into center field. Hill will glide underneath to end the inning, and it's a big coach. Your team gets off to a little bit of a slow start. Florida comes out, jumps right on top, scoring a 3-0, scoring 3-0 to start the first inning. What has been your message, though, to your hitters now coming back out here to start the third?
Yeah, it seemed like Coach Emily's rise ball and changeup looks great. When she is at her best, what do you think is working? What do you see from her?
Coach, appreciate your time. Good luck the rest of the way. By the way, how about the scouting reports on the wall of the dugout there? All the heat maps, the little notes about the players. If you didn't know, now you know. There's a lot that goes in to these SEC Series weekends.
There was a lot on the opposing teams, but there was also notes for their own players. You saw the 4 pitchers that were posted up there with some keys and some phrases, be you, be the exception. That was also on the wall. So as much as you're thinking about the other team, you want to focus on yourself too and what you need to do.
Ava Brown back in the circle for Florida. Scoreless first inning. And then the bottom of the order for Texas A&M got after her a little bit. A 2-run homer off the bat of Rylan Wiggins. And now second time through, Amari Harper leading it off for the Aggies. Brown's last 2 starts at Georgia and against Florida State. A bit of a mixed bag. Went 4 1/3 against Georgia. Gave up 7 runs on 8 hits. But against Florida State, just 1 run on 3 hits in 4 innings. Looking for more of that here this afternoon as she misses outside to push the count full. Part of a freshman tandem with Keegan Rothrock that has thrown a lot of innings this year for the Gators.
And two highly recruited freshmen, a highly recruited freshman class for Florida. But anytime that you could get a couple of freshman pitchers that are top recruits in the country to come into your program, those can be game changers.
Well, how's this? Brown won Gatorade National Player of the Year last year. Rothrock won it the year before. Now they're both on the same staff for Tim Walton. And a strikeout for Brown, her third of the afternoon.
Going back to that screwball, this is the second time that Ava Brown has gotten Amari Harper to chase this pitch more off the plate and get her to strike out. Amari Harper has been so good for Texas A&M. A couple of strikeouts for Ava Brown and swings and misses for Harper.
Base is clear now for Trinity Cannon. Batting in the 2 spot. As you mentioned earlier, Amanda sliding up from the 5 hole. Maybe part of Trisha Ford trying to find something different at the top of her lineup after they were held to just 1 run last night. Quickly 0-2 to Cannon. Brown has done a nice job today locating and changing speeds. 2 things that Tim Walton said she'd have to do. Just misses on that location for ball 1.
That's a great location, though. Ahead in the count. Florida fans going to want that pitch. Ava Brown would love to get that call, but great pitcher's pitch and good take by Cannon. Here's the crowd, a little loud now.
There you go.
Hear them.
They can hear you down there, I think.
Yeah, the cool part about this ballpark is that you can watch a game from the entire way around the field, 360 degrees, back behind home plate and the bowl, and then out behind the outfield too. Really unique part, and redid this field a few years ago, and they just did such a good job with it. It's really inviting for the fans. You kind of can pick which kind of view you want. Are you more of an outfield person? Maybe get to be a little bit of shade out there? Are you more of the berm person?
I'm more of a left field lounge chair kind of guy.
That's
Look at
where
that.
you'd be?
Middle of your screen right there.
Yeah.
Hanging out in the Adirondacks.
Yeah, and then you're right by the pitching lab, the bullpen out there too. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, that you get to watch the game and get to see if anybody's getting hot in the pen.
Pop up, out of play and foul. Personally, I think we have the best view.
And then you also have the Stacey Nelson Plaza. It has a couple of levels. That looks like the VIP area down there by the offices in the second deck.
2-2 to center field. Back on it is Falby, and it is gone. A monster home run for Trinity Cannon. And A&M chipping away here in the third. Second Aggie home run of the day, and it makes it 8-3 Gators.
Yeah, great at bat by Trinity Cannon. We were talking about the field and the stadium and just where you have the best view from, but I think anywhere would have a great view of that at bat and how she fouled off pitches to get to this off-speed pitch that was out over the plate, no doubter off of her bat, well out of the reach of Kendra Falby into the palm trees back there. Trinity Cannon, another senior. Both home runs have come off the bat of seniors.
A career high 14 home runs this year for the senior from Forney, Texas. And now Jasmine Hill punches it into right field, but playable for Kistler. 2 away.
Aggies catcher Julia Cottrell.
Base is clear for the former Gator, Julia Cottrell. Flares it to short. And Wallace ends the inning. 9 hits, 4 extra base hits, including a grand slam for one of the top offenses in the country. And now Aria Kowalewski, who led off the last inning, will lead off the bottom of the third for Florida. Emily Levitt back in the circle for Texas A&M. Came in to relieve Shaylee Ackerman after that grand slam by Corby Otis in the second. Pitching in a bit of a different role this year for Trisha Ford, the second-year Minnesota transfer. Threw the second most innings on the team last year, but this season has been used more in a relief role and has settled Texas A&M a little bit since entering the game.
When she came over from Minnesota, where as a freshman, she threw a ton. It was just her and one other pitcher, and they took the bulk, if not all, of the innings and as a freshman. And so she threw a lot and decided to transfer over to Texas A&M and has had a different role, more of a pitching staff that she's got to be a part of. But I think just invaluable experience that she got as a freshman with a lot of pressure, a lot of load, a big load on her shoulders. She's continued to just find ways to get outs, but she is absolutely her best when she has that changeup working. That pitch can be devastating to a hitter. That was it right there. Good location and just a good way of getting rid of that pitch for Kowalewski. Not a big pitching staff for Texas A&M. They just roll 4 deep with Brooke Vestal, Shaylee Ackerman, and then Emily Kennedy, who's thrown about 50% of the innings for Texas A&M. The rest of the staff has thrown the other 50% combined.
Leadoff walk for Kowalewski. Second time aboard today for the third baseman.
When you think of Florida's offense, I mean, we've talked about their speed, we've talked about their power, but yet to this point have we mentioned their patience and how many walks that they draw and their ability to draw the free pass. And that's when they're at their best. They're working counts, they're seeing a lot of pitches, they're making a pitcher come more on the plate. They have such a good eye at the plate. In terms of chase rate, that's a stat that's tracked in 643 charts. They have one of the lowest chase rates in Division I. And they've seen collectively more pitches than any other team in Division I softball. Makes for some longer games for the fans and for the coaches and opponents. But it can just feel like a grind as a pitcher to pitch against them.
Well, I was just going to say, as a pitcher, it's got to be so frustrating knowing that this is a team that is, in the words of Trisha Ford, so good at laying off balls in the paint. Could go either way. Typically, it's Florida pushing the count full like we just saw with the last at-bat by Ariel Kowalewski. How do you combat that in the circle if you're Texas A&M?
Have to be really confident with working the corners and working inches. And that's why as a pitcher, you're generally not, especially against a team like Florida, throwing to an entire area. They make you feel like you have to be pinpoint perfect to throw it on the edges. And you have to be confident in your eyes and your visualization before the pitch that you can do that. So they don't chase a lot. They just don't help you out. In fact, their chase rate is just 17.2%. The D1 average is 24.3%. This is a significant difference.
2-2 count to Mia Williams. Just got a piece of that. And into the mitt of Julia Cottrell. Just caught it off the tip. 1 out.
And Mia Williams took that pitch before, and then Emily Levitt brings it up just a little bit with that off-speed drop ball. It's a changeup, a good down movement, and a great job by the former Gator, Julia Cottrell, to hang on to that foul tip.
Back to the top of the order, and now the third time through for the Gators as Kendra Falby digs in.
And you might think, like, is this just Florida's offense this year, that they're really patient and draw a lot of walks? But the answer is no. This is a Tim Walton offense through and through that has so much patience, that doesn't chase out of the zone, and that puts a lot of pressure on pitchers to bring the ball more on the plate. Come to know that when you're watching Gator softball.
Falby slaps it into left field, and it's just foul. That would have been extra bases for sure for Falby. But instead, a foul ball called by home plate umpire Chelsea Clark.
And because there's no wind, that ball just stayed pretty true, and I don't think that Kramer Ashday thought that this was going to go as far as it did. Right down the line. Great call by Chelsea Clark. That was a foul ball, but I'd say about a foot.
Top three in the Florida order today. 6 for 6, 6 runs, 6 runs batted in. Falby with a pair of singles and a pair of runs scored. To short on the hop. They get 1, but with Falby's speed, turning 2 is nearly impossible. 2 away in the third.
The first 2 frames. Be a big deal if A&M was able to get through the top of the lineup and put up a 0 in this bottom half of the inning. Think about momentum and the turning points of a game, and you just feel like if after the home run hit by Trinity Cannon, if A&M's defense was able to put up a 0 on the board in this bottom of the third inning, that would be a big deal for their energy and momentum.
Well, you said it when Emily Levitt came in after the Otis Grand Slam. And a reminder, we will talk with Tim Walton next inning. You said her job is to come in and keep the score the same. And Amanda, she has. She's kept the 8 on the board for Florida.
Yeah, you can tell that Florida isn't on Emily Levitt the way that they were on Shaylee Ackerman. Every swing, every contact that they made with what Ackerman was throwing to start this game, I mean, they were just prepared for her and on it.
Otis, hard hit but foul. Backhanded at third by Kennedy Powell. 2-2. Runner at first is Falby. She has a ton of speed. 18 stolen bases this year. Punched right side, in and out of the glove of Wiggins. And an infield single for Otis, but the fact that she knocked it down probably kept Falby at second base rather than advancing to third.
100%, but Rylan Wiggins, look at where she started at second base, up the middle of the field. If she was playing in her normal position, that should be a 4-3 putout, but because of the defensive shift, the positioning, I mean, you're right. The fact that she was even able to knock it down was what kept Falby and her falling on her butt there at second base, kept her there at second base. Not too often that you see Falby just take 60 feet on a ball to the outfield. Usually with her speed, she's taking 2. That's because Rylan Wiggins knocked down that ball.
And now Otis ties a season high with her 3rd base hit of the game. And Skylar Wallace digs in with 2 on and 2 out. Gators have been lethal today with runners aboard. 7 for 14. and 4 for 9 with runners in scoring position. Wallace goes down on 3 straight strikes, and Levitt leaves 2 aboard before the game. We're now joined by their head coach, Tim Walton. Coach, your offense jumped out like a rocket ship over the first 2 innings, scoring 8 runs. What'd you like about how your team was timing up Shaylee Ackerman to start?
Well, I thought we did a really good job, playing situational softball. Jocelyn scorches the ball back at the pitcher, but everybody was going with pitches in all different directions. We go with a little bit of run and hit. Corby hits a double in the gap, and then obviously her setting the tone with the grand slam.
Coach, then it is senior day, and you can go in any direction that you want with this, but when you think about this senior class, what comes to mind?
Well, it's a pretty diverse group. We've got a transfer, we got a grad transfer, we've got Bailey Goddard in her 5th year, Katie Kistler here for 4, Avery Gels for 4. We have Emily Wilkie for 4 as well. So it's just cool. It's just there's just different. We've gone a long journey together with I've known Emily Wilkie and Avery Gels for like 10 years. So it's a long time, and there's a lot of memories that come with that. And I'm really proud of these guys. And this is still a pandemic impacted senior class, and I think that in a positive way they've overcome a lot, and they've done a really good job of representing Gator Nation and earning their degrees, but just first class people.
Coach, appreciate you.
Thank you, guys. Go Gators.
Good luck the rest of the way. Is that not just a microcosm of where college sports is at now? 5th years, grad transfers, transfer portal transfers. Senior classes look a lot different now maybe than when you were playing just a few years ago.
Yeah, and finally next year we won't have anybody on the rosters that had that additional COVID year added to their career.
A&M starts the 4th, down 5 with Coco Woolley at the dish. She led off the 2nd inning with a base hit, came around to score on a 2-run Rylan Wiggins homer. But with her speed, Amanda, she's the type of player to lead off an inning that can really set the table for what could be a big Aggie inning at the plate.
Yeah, she can. She can absolutely fly on the base pass. She puts the ball on the ground, whether a bunt, a slap, and she gets down the line so quickly.
Woolley shoots it through into left field. Back-to-back base hits for the Aggie shortstop.
Yeah, she's had a good game. Gotten on 2 times. They moved her to that 5 spot. She had missed a couple of games. Was out with a hamstring injury, just some hamstring tightness in the middle of that Alabama series, and just wanted to cautiously play it, not bring her back too quickly. So she missed a few more games that maybe she would have liked or thought that she would have missed, but wanted to make sure that she was healthy for the month of May.
Woolley takes off on a ball in the dirt and no throw from Erickson. First stolen base of the series for Texas A&M.
She is so fast and got a really good read with that changeup out of the hand of Ava Brown that she noticed from over at first base. The trajectory of that pitch was going to be down, and such a good lead too. Not a true steal. It's more where she keeps her hips pointed towards second base, anticipating a ball in the dirt. As soon as she saw it, she takes off. And
right, high pop-up left side in foul territory and caught by Skylar Wallace.
Crazy to think when we were talking about, that extra year and how long players have been around. Do you realize that Skylar Wallace, her first season was 2019? So she's 23, 24. She had redshirted and had the extra COVID year. Started her career at Alabama and then transferred over to Florida. Been around a while. She's definitely a lot older than the freshman, that's for sure at this point.
Rylan Wiggins put A&M on the board in the 2nd inning with that 2-run homer to left field. One of 6 upperclassmen in the starting lineup for Trisha Ford's team. senior from Wiley, Texas. Well, the runner in scoring position.
She reminds me with how much softball that she watches, Rylan Wiggins, of Amanda Lorenz from the Gators. I talked to Amanda Lorenz, and she was always watching softball games on her phone, after games, before games, and Rylan Wiggins is that same way. Loves to just take it all in. I mean, Amanda Lorenz, they called her Mandy Softball for a reason.
Well, that
She
sounds like
loves
somebody
softball.
else I know.
Who could also be named Mandy Softball, in all
Who
fairness.
will bring a iPad, a phone to dinner. The games are up. Never not watching softball.
I think Rylan would understand that, and I think Amanda Lorenz would understand that too. They get me. You got to stay in the know. You got to be up to date with what's going on.
Well, nowadays, between the plus and the amount of games that are on linear television, there is softball on at all times every weekend. Pretty awesome. 3-2 is lined into left field and down. Woolley will stay put at third on the throw in from Corby Otis. And Wiggins aboard for the second time today.
When you think about Matt, we're just getting going with softball on every day. I mean, we have next week the conference tournament start. The SEC tournament starts on Tuesday in Auburn. And selection show will already be almost a week from high for them. And where you start thinking, man, are they even on the bubble to host a regional, nevertheless a super? I mean, they've been in both of those conversations. It depends on what happens with today's game, what happens tomorrow, and then also I think that's the importance of the conference tournament. You're making your last exclamation point for your body of work, not just in the SEC tournament, in all of them.
But in the SEC tournament, given the RPI of most of the teams in this league, you have an opportunity to pick up some serious resume boosting wins. As Chelsea Dobbins pops out of the dugout, the pitching coach in her first season for Florida wants to chat things over with Ava Brown, with the pinch hitter Keely Williams at the dish for Texas A&M. Runners at the corners here and just one out. And if you were with us for the Trisha Ford interview just a couple of innings ago, you heard her say, we just need to keep chipping away and taking advantage of opportunities, which, Amanda, she felt like they did not last night in game one, being held to just one run.
Yeah, I think that when you have an opportunity like this after your pitcher puts up a 0 and you've scored the past 2 innings, you want to just keep riding that momentum and scoring here would be a big statement, I think, to Florida that we're not going away. We're in this for the long haul, and I think that is how you've seen Florida play all year, and that is how you've seen Texas A&M play all year. They do not go away. No lead ever feels big enough.
Mackenzie Wooten getting loose in the Florida pen. The 2-0 count to Keely Williams is a strike on the outside corner.
You can see this big shift, too, that Florida is playing on defense, with Skylar Wallace now being in the center field camera shot because she's playing so far up the middle of the field. You see her there. She'll even move a little bit over as the pitch is delivered. Good swing there by Keely Williams. She's missed.
Woolley, the runner at third. Wiggins, the runner at first. Shift on in the infield for Florida. Big gap in right center for Williams. Takes ball 3.
It's a great take. You're fresh off the bench. You've been trying to pay as close attention to the strike zone as you can, and to confidently take that pitch with 2 strikes tells me that Keely Williams is ready to hit.
Full count, right back into the mitt of Ava Brown. Big second out for the Gators.
It's a great at-bat by Keely Williams, and did everything that she possibly could in that at-bat, fresh off the bench. And you see why Skylar Wallace was shifted more up the middle of the field, because It's clearly where Keely Williams likes to pepper the ball and spray the ball right back up the middle. Ava Brown makes a play, and Rylan Wiggins took a couple of steps off of first base, but luckily Ava Brown looked 3 first instead of 1, or else that would have been a double play.
Maya Perez will pinch hit for Kennedy Powell in the 9 spot. Trisha Ford here, understanding the importance of this opportunity. Her team was just 2 for 10 last night with runners on. 2 on here with 2 out. And a 5-run deficit in the 4th. Florida with a win today can take this series against the top 10 Texas A&M team that had won 8 in a row coming into the weekend.
Put in a hitter like Maya Perez and going to give her this opportunity off the bench as a freshman, just hoping that with one swing, one pitch, she could potentially put you within 2, Florida.
6 for 32 this year as Perez with 6 runs batted in. Just got a piece to stay alive.
And it's just not easy to be a pinch hitter on the road. I mean, you hear the crowd in your ear every single pitch.
Particularly here.
Yes.
We're right behind home plate. They are close and they are on field level. Perez, a fly ball left field. In on it is Otis, and she will make the play in foul territory. Brown, straight 5 years. First pitch swinging for Jocelyn Erickson is caught in foul territory, 1 away.
That was a decisive win for Oklahoma State in that game in Norman yesterday. That Loves Field, by the way, the beautiful new Loves Field stadium that Oklahoma has just opened this year, seats over 4,500 fans. So rivalry, that matchup, and not winning in Norman since 1997. They hadn't won a regular season game since 1993. That game in 97 was a postseason game. And it continues, and I think that we've seen this all year. It has opened the door for other teams to feel like they have a way in to win the national championship. And of course, Oklahoma's going to want to have the last word about that as a defending back-to-back-to-back national champions. But the way that they've lost a few more games than last year, you can see it.
2 down in the 4th. Well, speaking of going a long time without winning on the road, Texas A&M has won just 1 game in Gainesville. That was back in 2018.
It was a super regional game. They won that game. Regular season game, it has not happened.
That's pretty wild.
It really is.
And it just goes to show you, too, and you referenced this much earlier in the broadcast, how difficult it is to play at some of these SEC venues. Presley Stadium is right up there with the best in the SEC.
Yeah, it's always, as you mentioned, just how close the fans are right back behind you. As a pitcher, you feel that because you're at eye level with some of the fans who are, yelling at you behind home plate. And then as a hitter, you definitely feel it because you're closer into the fans. And they're passionate about their softball here. Every SEC school is obviously passionate about their program and about their school and about their softball, but they're always a tough crowd here.
One and 2 to Ava Brown. Emily Levitt has been in the circle since the 2nd inning, came in to relieve Shaylee Ackerman, and has done a really nice job. Has not allowed a run since entering the game against the Gators. Base is clear, 2 down in the 2-2. Fly ball center field. Jasmine Hill is at the wall and pulls it in for a long out number 3. First pitch pop up is foul. Third straight pinch hitter used for Trisha Ford. This is Ayanna Coleman. Pinch hitting at the top of the order for Amari Harper. And remember, Trinity Cannon on deck in her last at bat, homered back in the 3rd. Potential for A&M to get some runs back in this inning.
And some new faces getting some opportunities. So 3 pinch hitters in a row, as you mentioned, Keely Williams, Maya Perez, and now Ayanna Coleman. Mari Harper had struck out 2 times, the first time all year, by the way, that she had struck out twice in a game.
Well, and for Coleman, you mentioned getting more swings and misses this afternoon. Has done a really nice job of mixing speeds, going up and down in the zone. And now has Coleman down 1-2.
Yeah, and a lot of familiarity between Ava Brown and a lot of the Texas A&M players. Ava Brown, being from the Houston area, actually played high school with Emily Kennedy. So a lot of these players have played each other in travel ball. Texas roots here.
Chopper backhanded, no, scooped up from Wallace, and a strong throw across the diamond to Avery Gels, 1 away.
Yeah,
Slick by the reigning SEC Player of the Year.
Skylar did a really good job of situating herself, taking this angle back to get her body in a position that when she fielded the ball, she could throw from. Got her feet and her ground underneath her. Quick transfer, long throw. A lot of time to make that throw for a long out.
1-0 to Trinity Cannon. Monster shot to center field. Into the palm trees, back in the 3rd. And that caught a piece of Cannon. So she is on for the 2nd time today. As that got her right in the elbow guard.
Don't have to make an attempt to move out of the way if the ball is all the way in the batter's box, and we'll have a pinch runner for Trinity.
Haley Golden will pinch run at first base. As Jasmine Hill comes to the plate with 1 out in the top of the 5th. And the Aggies trailing by 5 here in Game 2 after dropping Game 1 by 1 last night.
Just such a good game last night. Pitchers duel. A&M came out and scored first, held the lead for many innings. Emily Kennedy pitched gem. It makes you really appreciate, I think, how well Emily Kennedy pitched last night with how you've seen Florida come out today and swing the bat.
Anticipate seeing her again tomorrow. And time called by Ava Brown. Jasmine Hill coming into the series just 2 for her last 20 at the plate. Drew a walk in the 1st and flew out to right field in her 2nd at bat. Somebody who is a 3-year starter at Arizona State under Trisha Ford. 2-time All Pac-12 performer. Finished out her undergraduate studies and used her grad year to come back to play for her former head coach at Texas A&M.
Just a veteran professional hitter. When you think of Jasmine Hill, I mean, what she has brought to A&M with leadership and consistency and competitiveness, not only at the plate, but I mean, playing a great center field and strengthening the outfield for A&M. She's been a mega pickup for the Aggies this year.
Draws a walk. So a hit batter and now a walk, and 2 on for the former Gator, Julia Cottrell.
Yeah, this is where you start to see the differences in Florida's offense and A&M's offense in this game. With runners on base, Florida in this game 7 for 15, 2 for 8 with runners on for A&M. At Tooth, there was such an intense celebration in that game in 2021 to celebrate the championship.
Cottrell lines it into left field. Back on it is Otis and makes the play in front of the track. A long out, number 2.
It's a great read by Corby Otis, and Julia Cottrell, I think, forcing the issue a little bit with that changeup out in front of it, just getting anxious. Good read. Corby Otis goes straight back. No time for any wasted steps on that ball.
So 2 on, 2 out for Coco Woolley. The speedster who ranks 6th all-time in career stolen bases for Texas A&M. As just a junior from LaPorte, Texas.
And A&M has had runners on in every inning, even back in the first inning when the first 2 batters struck out. Still somebody reached with the walk from Jasmine Hill. Again, you just look with the runners on numbers and the runners in scoring position. Florida 4 for 10 with runners in scoring position and hitting 500 with runners on, and A&M just does not have those numbers, but still a lot of game left and a good chance here. Try to push some across.
Woolley, Tapper to Wallace, charging in, and the throw gets away from Gels. In to score from second is Golden. They will send in Hill, and she scores. Now Woolley comes to the plate. A 3-run Tapper off the bat of Coco Woolley, and just like that, the Aggies are back in it, down 2.
That is what speed can do in softball. That is what speed can do for the Aggies. Coco Woolley, just a soft slap to the left side, and that throw pulls Avery Gels off and ends up all the way into right field. And then this mistake right here is a mistake that is a gut punch, because Coco Woolley able to go all the way around with her speed. That is how fast she is, how good a reads that she gets. And I think the difference maker when Coco Woolley runs the bases.
Circle. Wow, what a change of events, and now the bases are clear for Allie Enright.
And when we talk about speed, Florida and Texas A&M are the 2 fastest teams, or the teams with the most team speed in a lot of different parts of the game in the SEC. Florida has speed, A&M has speed, and that Little League in the Park home run there by Woolley proves that.
That went off the foot of Enright and foul.
Remember, these speed scorers are on a scale of 0 to 10. Florida and Texas A&M up at the top of the SEC, along with Arkansas, Kentucky, and Missouri, and the top 5 in the team speed scores. So Coco Woolley being a big part of that, as well as Kendra Falby for Florida and Skylar Wallace, but team speed throughout.
Check swing and the appeal up to first. Marty Abasesian set a strike. And now 1-2 to Enright, who last night had 2 hits, drove in the only run of the game for the Aggies. 2 down in the 5th. Enright launches it deep left field. Back on it, Otis at the wall, and will make the catch. Be overstated, as she takes on Katie Kistler in the 7 spot to start the bottom of the 5th.
Give a lot of credit to Emily Levitt for coming in and the 2nd inning, and she's doing a really good job of calming this game down for A&M and giving them some time and space to get back in it. Great change up there, and wow. I mean, that pitch has just been so good for her, being able to locate that through the zone, getting some chases out of the zone, down movement with it.
came into the game for Shaylee Ackerman after A&M starting pitcher gave up a grand slam to make it 7-2 Florida. Since then, Levitt has allowed just one run and has gone scoreless each of the last 2 innings. High hopper to second base. Charging in is Wiggins, and she gets it there in time. What a play at second by Rylan Wiggins.
Yeah, Rylan Wiggins says, I love defense. If there is one part of the game that just she loves to do, it is defense. And do it at every position. In her career, she has played second base, shortstop, third base. When Coco Woolley has been injured, she slid over to shortstop, and Amari Harper slid over to second. So this infield has moved around at times for A&M, but played good defense this year, and in my opinion is a big reason why they've been up at the top of the SEC, consistency on D.
Has started at third base, shortstop, and second base. And as you mentioned, was the starting shortstop until Coco Woolley got to Texas A&M. Then she moved primarily to third base each of the last 2 seasons. But this year asked her to play at second with the addition of Kennedy Powell. And with each move, has totally embraced the role.
She's their leader on defense because you can put her anywhere, and you've seen an increase in fielding percentage, especially in SEC play last year. 958 fielding percentage this year, 978 fielding percentage, and then also just overall in the season up by 11 points. And I know that those numbers maybe to the naked eye don't look very different, like if you see somebody hit 200 versus 400, but that really is the difference in those numbers, is that kind of a drastic change from the 950s to the 970s. And you see in SEC play that they're stepping up to make more plays and win games.
Line drive center field, charging it is Hill, and she'll get there in time. The speedster, in her first year from ASU, makes the play. 2 away in the 5th. Well, and it's plays like that for you as a former pitcher that just got to give you that much more confidence in the circle. When you're pitching to contact, knowing your defense behind you has your back.
Absolutely, both of those. Emily Levitt just has a couple of strikeouts. She's had to rely on her defense in this game to make plays back behind her, trusting Rylan Wiggins, trusting Jazz Hill to run a long way, get a quick 2 outs.
Emily Wilkie at the dish for Florida. Batting in the 9 spot for Mia Williams, one of 6 seniors honored before the game today. Wilkie a mile high down the left field line and foul. Playing in her final SEC regular season home series. Hoping to host a regional and possibly even a super.
It's a great pitch right there. Crowd doesn't like it, but I like to see umpires call the bottom of the zone. It's a great pitch. Not oftentimes that you see the true bottom of the zone get called in our sport. The strike zone has seemed small. It's a great location.
And the 1-2 is a swing and a miss. Out from her crouch is Cottrell. And 7.
Especially that has been a game changer for their season and their athleticism. And Florida has that speed as well.
Wiggins hit it, but was still in the box, according to Chelsea Clark. Now, the fans thought she was out of the box in fair territory.
It's a great idea by Rylan Wiggins after hitting a 2-run home run earlier in this game to turn around and lay down a bunt. You hear the fans arguing if she was indeed in the box, and I do think that that was a good call, that she was. Good idea by Rylan Wiggins to try to catch the Florida defense.
Remember, Wiggins in her first at-bat, monster home run.
That's right.
To left field. Now she's dropping down bunts. Trisha Ford pulling all the strings here. This one flared shallow left field, and in foul territory it is caught by Corby Otis. One away. Ava Brown now one out into the sixth. Already further than she's gone in each of her last two starts. In spite of what has been a wacky day offensively for Texas A&M. Could have unraveled last inning with the Woolley infield single. But she is back in the circle. Speaks to her maturity, Amanda, as just a freshman who's been heavily relied upon this year. Kramer Ashte at the plate for Texas A&M. Was pinch hit for in her last at bat by Keely Williams.
I think Ava Brown, as you were mentioning, she's done a great job in this game of competing. I think that if you were a fan who was just showing up to the field and you were watching this young lady pitch, I don't think that you would just assume that she was a freshman in the circle. She doesn't play like a freshman in the box and in the circle with her presence and her competitiveness.
Tim Walton told us that as the year has gone along, she's just gotten happier, more comfortable, more confident. So difficult to pitch and hit in college, let alone in the SEC, but has handled it terrifically well. And her 100th pitch misses outside, pushing the count full.
Yeah, Ava Brown and Keegan Rothrock remind me a lot of my former teammate, both pitchers who hit. Megan Gibson came in to A&M and pitched to play together, and we switched off at first base, both hit in the everyday lineup. And Keegan Rothrock
flared into left. Otis, 2 down.
Keegan Rothrock can also swing it. Looking to see her hit potentially a little bit more next year, kind of managing an injury this year in her freshman year, but a player that can hit and pitch as well, just like Ava Brown. And I think of my former teammate Megan Gibson with that. There's Rothrock there.
Went the distance last night, her 22nd win of the year. First 20-game winner since Kelly Barnhill in 2019. And certainly a strong candidate for SEC Freshman of the Year. So is Ava Brown.
Yeah, I mean, Ava Brown, with the way that she's hit in SEC play,
Right,
is really what stuck out to me. 8 home runs, leads the Gators in SEC play in terms of the long ball, the most hit, up there at the top of the conference.
Line drive into right field, gliding back Kistler, and a 1-2-3 inning for Ava Brown.
For A&M, and give them a chance to get back into the game and chip away, like Tricia Ford told us in her in-game interview, that that's what they were trying to do. That's the message. And down by just 2 runs now, Emily Levitt needs to keep doing what she's doing.
4th time up today for Kendra Falby. First time up since the 3rd, which tells you all you need to know about how Emily Levitt has come in and steadied the ship for Texas A&M. Falby hit in each of the first 3 innings and has not hit since until now.
Yeah, when you're seeing the top of the Gator lineup back-to-back-to-back innings, that's not going to be a lot of fun for your defense because that means that they're getting on. That means that you have to face their top 5 hitters in their lineup more often than what you would ideally like.
I don't want to face Kendra Falby 3 times in the first 3 innings.
What do you think you'd throw?
Not with her speed.
Maybe your changeup, mix that in a little bit. What do you
Thinking
think?
a little screwball
Screw.
to Falby.
Get that pitch to move away from her, see if she can chase.
But this is just such a dangerous Florida lineup. One of the more dynamic lineups that Tim Walton has had, Amanda, in his 18 seasons. Compared it to the 2011 team. With 4 players in the top 5 in the SEC in batting average and top 10 in the country in runs scored.
Well, Kendra Falby is just such a good athlete. Her dad played hockey until he was 50. Her mom played basketball and track, and she told me last year there was just a competition in everything when she was little.
Goes down looking on a fluttering off speed on the outside corner. Third strikeout for Levitt.
I believe all her strikeouts have been on this changeup. Just fools Kendra Falby's eyes. She's swinging away. She's not slapping in that at bat, or at least with 2 strikes, and gets her looking.
Corby Otis, bases empty, 1 down in the 6th. 5 runs batted in today. A new career high.
Grand Slam will really help kind
No
of
doubt.
bring up that RBI total for a game. Gives you a good little head start with 1 swing. And we talked to Coach Walton about bringing Corby Otis in. I thought it was interesting about what he looks for in the transfer portal. And he said that Corby and him align because 1, she's a good person. She's a hard worker, likes to have fun. 2, great student. 3, good athlete. Those are the 3 things that he looks for. Somebody who is a hard worker in all aspects of her life. In the classroom, working to be a good person, in the weight room as well. You know, and she had such a good year last year. Hit over 400, scored over 60 runs at Louisville last year. But he said she felt like she was disappointed in her season last year and thought that there was just more in the tank. She wanted more. Maybe this more looks a little bit like this.
She didn't leave anything in the tank with that swing. That was on top of the roof of the bullpen in left field.
It's the head excitement nod rounding first. That's it for me. Seeing that emotion. Usually I feel like she's pretty steady Eddie with her emotions, but after a grand slam, I think you just got to let it all out.
Riding a 15-game hit streak. Has a single, a double, and a home run. Payoff pitch coming from Levitt. Lined to Woolley. 2 outs.
Positioned really well for that play, more up the middle of the field. And he talked about all the analytics and scouting reports that these teams have on every pitcher, on every hitter, and you also have the scouting report on where to position your defense. And that throw almost sailed on Coco Woolley. Mari Harper was still able to grab it, but that's the look of a pitcher who wants every out that she's going to give to her defense.
Skylar Wallace has been a tough out this year. He's been a tough out for basically her entire career.
That's right.
At the University of Florida, a single, a double, 2 runs, and a run batted in today. Struck out her last debut against Levitt. Back to Woolley. And another 1-2-3 inning, the 3rd in a row for Emily Levitt. Keeps it a 2-run game. Aggies have the top 3 in the 3 outs away from a complete game victory against the top 10 Texas A&M team in what would be a series clinching win for the Gators. We'll take on the top of the order.
Well, and help them get that 2 spot in 2nd place in the SEC standings as well with a win.
Currently tied for 2nd right now with Texas A&M after their win in Game 1 last night.
Mari Harper here just has not seen Ava Brown well in this game, but has to anticipate a pitch on the outer half coming to her soon and looking for that side. Looked like actually that was supposed to be it. You saw Jocelyn Erickson set up on the outside corner, and that pitch ended up bleeding back over the heart of the plate. That's what I look for a lot, Matt, is just the movement of the catcher. As you can see when the pitcher is in her motion, to see where the pitch is about to end up, and if the pitcher is hitting their spot or if maybe they're missing a bit there. Even set up there, that pitch was more up, but toward the middle of the plate.
2 strikeouts today for Harper against Brown. The 2-2 is a strikeout on the outside corner. 1 down in the 7th.
I mean, just not seeing the ball well from the hand of Ava Brown at all. And Ava Brown goes at her again with this screwball, perfectly placed there on the outside corner. Look at that competitiveness of working with Jocelyn Erickson, that battery connecting and communicating. An important first out.
4th strikeout of the day for Ava Brown. And now Trinity Cannon, who has homered off of Brown today. Cannon, Hill, Cottrell still due up in the inning. Somebody would have to get on for Cottrell to come to the plate.
I mean, look at the 10 losses that A&M has had this season, Matt. They've been in every game. The majority of their losses have been 1-run losses. Going back to last night in game 1, another 1-run loss, but they've been in every single game. 7 of their 10 losses are by 1 run, and this wouldn't fall under that category, you know, at this point, but even a 2-run loss, like, they've been in every single game that they've played. And I think it goes to show you, as Cannon draws that walk, just the fight of this team to be down 8-2, and Florida scored those 8 runs in the first 2 innings, and still to not feel like, all right, we're going to give up, or we're going to go away, let's pack in our bags, like we're going to lose this one. Still giving your team a chance to win and chip away at the score and feel like we can get back into this thing. That's that type of mentality I think that you see from Trisha Ford and how she coaches and this coaching staff that has bled on to the rest of the team, that they're not going away. They're going to play with a little bit of an edge and fight until the end.
Tying run comes to the plate in the form of ASU transfer Jasmine Hill. Over 200 career starts between her time at Arizona State and now Texas A&M. The graduate from Norwalk, California. 2 walks in the game against Ava Brown, still hitless. First time today that we've seen Lovell aboard. And a 3-0 count to Jasmine Hill. With Julia Cottrell, the former Gator, on deck. 4 straight balls for the second consecutive batter, and the game-tying run is aboard for Julia Cottrell. And if you've been with us since the beginning of this game, you know that until last night, the last time Julia Cottrell played in this ballpark, she hit a walk-off home run against Texas A&M to win the SEC regular season championship. Takes a strike. And some jeers from the crowd after some balls that they felt were questionable by home plate umpire Chelsea Clark. Here comes the 0-1 from Ava Brown.
Now, this crowd will let you know that you have a home field advantage here if you're wearing blue and orange. That's for sure. They're going to be on your side every step of the way. It's a good swing right there. Practiced here and stepping back onto this field. She had not been back to Gainesville since she had left. Just trying to calm down her senior, and it's a big moment.
Here comes the 1-2.
It's a good take. Not an easy pitch to take at all with 2 strikes. Ava Brown going to that curveball. It's about a ball, 2 balls off the plate.
Tying run at first. Defensive swing there from Cottrell, just fighting it off. Now Brown up over 120 pitches and no action in the Florida bullpen. This is her game. Up 2 and 2 outs away from a series clinching win against Texas A&M.
Ava Brown just has not been scared to go inside of these right-handed hitters with that screwball. That screwball is a pitch that she's been working a lot against both lefties and righties. Locating that pitch well today.
7th pitch of the at-bat. Cottrell up the middle and into center field. Fielded by Falby. And a strong throw in to Jocelyn Erickson. Will keep level at third. Cottrell loads the bases now for Coco Woolley. And the last time Woolley came to the plate, she scored on what Amanda Scarborough deemed a Little League infield home run. Ground ball to shortstop and came all the way around to score as Cottrell will head back to the dugout here. They're going to send a pinch runner out. She was a little bit hobbly after getting up to first base. But with Coco Woolley's speed, Amanda, anything is on the table here for Tricia Ford.
Yeah, the best part for the Gator defense is that they have an out at any base. They don't have to go to one to try to get the fastest player in the team, and Coco Woolley. Savannah Price will come in and run for Julia Cottrell.
Tying run in scoring position. Go-ahead run aboard for Texas A&M, who has trailed since the bottom of the first.
Yeah, this is where, if you're Coco Woolley, as she takes that strike, doesn't really agree with the call, but the infield is pulled in. Anticipating a softer slap from her, but she can go to a more firm power slap to try to hit it through the drawn-in infield. Or keep her feet still.
Up the middle, and it's through. Here comes Jasmine Hill. We are tied in Gainesville. Coco Woolley, 4 for 4 this afternoon, and drives in the game-tying run for Texas A&M.
That's why you're looking at the infield. Where are they? They're drawn in. Okay, so I'm not going to go to more a touch-and-go slap. I'm going to try to hit this ball through the infield, and she does. And to get it past Ava Brown, who is a good fielding pitcher, she's falling off to her right side. That ball was to her left side and through the infield. And Coco Woolley, what a day at the plate for her. And what a comeback by the Aggies to be down by 6 runs and find themselves to their final outs and tie up this game.
And right to left, lined right into the mid of Otis, 2 away. Well, Mia Williams at second base almost backhanded that ball.
She did.
Just sneaking through. Go ahead run in scoring position for Rylan Wiggins, who homered back in the second. Not this time. Aggies plate 2 in this.
A lot of swings and misses on both sides of the plate, both up and down.
Throws to Jocelyn Erickson.
It's good to see, if you're an Aggie fan, Julia Cottrell back behind the plate to catch after she exited the game when she was at first base. Her hands were on her knees, looking a little uncomfortable after that hit.
Which was a huge hit, by the way, to load the bases with 1 out and put the bat in Coco Woolley's hands, who drove in 2 on a single up the middle. Erickson launches it foul into right field.
Well, and you see a lot of red faces on the field for these players too. It's one of the warmest weeks, I believe, that a lot of these players have played in so far this year. No wind, it's humid. It's been a long game, 2.5-hour game.
The 1-2 to Jocelyn Erickson, lined up the middle. And a leadoff single for Florida's 4-hitter, Jocelyn Erickson. And the game-winning run is aboard for the Gators in the bottom of the 7th. Interesting, from my point of view, for Trisha Ford to go to her bullpen after Emily Levitt had set down 10 in a row. Amanda, your thoughts?
She has a lot of trust in Emily Kennedy and has used her this way in a lot of games to start, of course, but to come in relief and try to close games because of her speed and the way that she complements Emily Levitt. I think that it shows a lot of respect, Matt, for the Florida offense that can't stay in one place for too long. And I also think, too, Jocelyn Erickson, left-handed lefty-on-lefty matchup for that first leadoff hitter, and Erickson coming through with a hit now will be relieved by Brooke Barnard to come and pinch run. But I think if you like that lefty-on-lefty matchup, to go out Erickson.
First hit for Florida since the 3rd inning. Barnard represents the game-winning run with Reagan Walsh at the dish. You referenced an inning ago that A&M is never out of it. 7 of their 10 losses by 1 run this year, including last night's loss to Florida. Punched into right field, down for a base hit. Barnard up to second, and back-to-back runners aboard for Florida in the 7th.
It's a good response by Florida. I mean, you mentioned that they had not had a hit since the 3rd inning, and A&M ties up the game in the top of the inning, and here they are, back-to-back hits to start up the bottom.
Not only have 7 of A&M's 10 losses been by 1 run, 8 of their 10 losses have come in their opponent's final at-bat. Ava Brown takes a strike.
Really interesting matchup here because you have former high school teammates, Emily Kennedy and Ava Brown, with the game on the line. Very good friends. They talk, keep in touch often. 2 years separates them, Emily being a junior and Ava being a freshman.
Brown has a chance to end the game after the Aggies tied it on her in the top of the 7th.
Well, and you know she wants it for that very reason.
And she has caught fire lately. Bigger the game, the bigger she plays, in the words of Tim Walton. 1-2 into right field, and caught on the run by Allie Enright, and zips it into second base. Barnard gets back in time. 1 down.
Making good contact with Emily Kennedy right out of the gate.
So now it's Katie Kistler. One of 6 seniors honored today before the start of Game 2. From Orange Park, Florida. And having a terrific year. Much improved at the plate from a season ago. Batting .324 overall coming into the series. That rings her up, looking on the outside corner. Quickly 2 away in the 7th.
It's a huge out and a call that goes the way of Emily Kennedy and the Aggies. Bottom of the zone, gets Kistler looking, and you see Julia Cottrell go back over the plate with her glove, that pitch, expecting to be on the outside corner. It ends up being more like a backdoor curveball to get Kistler looking. You can tell, too, how the game speeds up with Emily Kennedy in the circle. She moves at a very fast pace. Doesn't take a lot of time in between pitches.
First pitch to the pinch hitter, Bailey Goddard, a fellow senior of Kistler. Is a strike. Game-winning run at second base in Brooke Barnard. 0-2. for A&M in the game. And now free softball as the 8th inning is led off with a single by Kramer Este. And a different strategy here for Tim Walton. Leaving his starter Ava Brown in. Her longest outing since going a complete game in a loss to South Carolina back on April 20th. Bunt dropped down by Powell. Charging in from third is Kowalewski, and there is no play. 2 on and nobody out as the lineup turns over for the Aggies.
Kennedy Powell also has speed for the Aggies down in the 9-hole. Well executed bunt, just deadened it right off the end of the bat in a perfect position. Now you have major speed at second and at first base for Texas A&M with Este and Powell.
Amari Harper at the top of the order at the plate for A&M.
If I were Amari Harper, just like she showed bunt there with the way that she's seen Ava Brown in this game, which is, I don't know if she's seen one hand or one pitch out of the hand of Brown well, I would try to lay down a bunt too. You have to find a way to put the ball in play on the ground and have a productive out here if you're not going to get on yourself.
And hopefully avoid a double play ball.
And avoid a double play ball, which is why that bunt looks a little bit more appealing to try to get the top half of the ball and put on the ground.
Remember, Florida has turned 2 double plays in the series. Not on the ground, mind you. Both were on either lineouts or flyouts as the count moves to 2-1 to Harper.
I don't know. I'm just shocked that she didn't try to bunt again before getting 2 strikes. That pitch was over the heart of the plate. You can just tell she's just not seeing the ball well at all.
Full count.
Doing everything that she can in this at bat to try to move the runners an extra 60 feet to try to get the top half of a ball. In particular, try to hit it to the right side. It's a better swing right there. And you know it's been a frustrating day for her. I mean, just like we know that she struck out 3 times, she knows that she struck out 3 times, and that last time was looking. So you know she's not going to want to go down looking in this AB.
You sound like you're speaking from experience. Payoff pitch from Brown is a strikeout on the outside corner. Big time pitch from Brown, her 5th strikeout. And the first out of the 8th.
And 4 of the 5 have been to Amari Harper. The last 2 she took looking. You just can't go down looking in this situation. Have to do whatever it takes to put the ball in play. But Ava Brown makes another pitch to Amari Harper.
Scout Lovell, her first at bat. Remember, she came in a pinch run in the last inning. Came around to score. Batting in place of Trinity Cannon, who had homered earlier in the game in the DP spot.
And they burned her essentially, which is why Trinity Cannon is not able to enter back into this game, which is a big loss for Texas A&M's offense because they pinch ran for her twice.
This is Scout Lovell's first at bat of the year. That's right. Her first at-bat of the year. Down in the count 0-2. Game tied at 8. 2 on, 1 out in the top of the 8th.
Well, she's a freshman, so it's actually the first at-bat of her career.
Two down. 6 strikeouts for Ava Brown. No, check that. She got a piece of it.
Love the competitiveness. I mean, you know probably how nervous she is. Her first at bat coming in extra innings in SEC play on the road with a runner in scoring position.
Go ahead run in scoring position. Rolls it to third. Kowalewski over across the diamond, but a productive out by Scout Lovell brings Jasmine Hill to the plate with the go-ahead run just 60 feet away at third base. Aggies have never led in this game.
Got a little love from her teammates, knowing what was at stake there. A productive out, like you mentioned.
Hill has walked 3 times in this game against Ava Brown. First base is open. Should she get aboard, Julia Cottrell awaits on deck.
And Jazz has walked 3 times in this game, so maybe that's a sign she's starting to see the ball a little bit better coming into this game. 2 for her last 20. Couple of good pitches there by Ava Brown. Change up and then gets the bottom half of the zone. I mean, that is a perfect pitch right at the bottom of the zone. Second strike.
First 2 batters in the inning for A&M reached on singles. The last 2, a strikeout and a ground out. Starting to look a lot like the last half inning for Florida. Their first 2 hitters reached on singles, and then Kennedy set down the side. A&M trying to take the lead here and potentially level the series for a rubber match on Sunday. Such a highly anticipated series coming into the day after Florida won Game 1. These 2 teams tied for second in the SEC behind Tennessee, who clinched their second straight regular season crown last night. Hill pops it up in the infield, and making the play is Kowalewski. Brown pitches around back and set down the side. And Mia Williams coming up hacking in the 9 spot for the Gators. Florida led 8-2 to start this game, plating all 8 runs in the first 2 innings. And have not scored since, Amanda. And credit to Emily Levitt, who came in the second and pitched all the way to the 7th, giving way to Emily Kennedy.
Her outing was absolutely huge to keep A&M in this game. And I want to give little credit to Trisha Ford, because she kind of called it in the interview coming into the series. She said both teams are really similar. It could either be 2-1 or it could be 13-12 games. You don't really know how it's going to go. I mean, she 100% had this series nailed for what it's turning out to be so far.
Well, they're so similar. Tied for second in the SEC, picked 7th and 8th in the preseason poll. As the 3-1 misses to Williams. And the game-winning run aboard now for Kendra Falby. But beyond that, both fast, very good at base running. Florida leads the SEC in stolen bags, A&M second. Both with solid defenses. Both 2 of the best hitting teams in the SEC, particularly with 2 outs. We've seen that here this afternoon. Series has played out how we thought it would. Highly competitive and tightly contested.
Well, and even down to both in this game are 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position.
And both battling for a potential super regional hosting bid. If they can finish top 8 at the end of the year. And since 2005, teams who hosted the super regional, 74% of them have moved on to the Women's College World Series. And that was a goal that Trisha Ford discussed at the beginning of the year. Felt like with the makeup of her roster, the toughness, the talent, that making a super regional and even hosting it was a realistic expectation. 2-2 to Falby. Is into center field and down for a base hit. And just like the 7th, back-to-back runners aboard to start the inning for the Gators.
Kendra Falby is having such a big week for Florida. You go back to that midweek game when she kept her feet still and hit a home run against Florida State in the rivalry game, keeps her feet still here again and passes the bat to Corby Otis. Now 2 on and nobody out. Kendra Falby has been hot this week at the plate.
And Otis has been as hot as they come in college softball. 5 RBI in the game, riding a 15-game hit streak. Lines it into center field. Charging in is Hill. They will hold Williams at third. And the bases are loaded with nobody out in the 8th. Otis 4 for 5 this afternoon.
What a day for her at the plate. That's 14 hits for the Gators in this game. A&M has 10 hits.
Reigning SEC Player of the Year at the plate. And Skylar Wallace takes a strike. Game-winning run at third base. 8 of Texas A&M's 10 losses this year have come in their opponent's final at bat. And Florida trying to win the series with a run in the 8th. 0-2 to Wallace. Big strikeout for Kennedy, 1 down.
Such a good pitch. Look at the movement on this pitch to get Skylar Wallace to chase this drop ball low and away. Bases loaded. You're going up against last year's SEC Player of the Year. Got ahead, made a pitch, working from ahead, and got her to chase.
Jocelyn Harrison looks at strike 1. Erickson singled off Kennedy in her first batter faced in the 7th. That looked awfully close to the last location. This time called a ball. Erickson today with a pair of singles and a stolen base.
And Erickson has had some key hits in this SEC season for Florida. I mean, all throughout. I mean, she's hitting over 400 with runners in scoring position, but in particular in SEC play. Important home run in the Georgia series, of course, late in that game, and then also against Mississippi State. I mean, Florida has played in some tight games, some tight, high-scoring games that have been back and forth. I mean, remember on Wednesday night, it was a 9-inning, 15-13 game against FSU they just had.
Erickson into left field, and that'll do it. The Gators walk it off and take the series against Texas A&M. First time today that we've seen Lovell aboard.
What?
And a 3-0 count to Jasmine Hill. With Julia Cottrell, the former Gator, on deck. 4 straight balls for the second consecutive batter, and the game-tying run is aboard for Julia Cottrell. And if you've been with us since the beginning of this game, you know that until last night, the last time Julia Cottrell played in this ballpark, she hit a walk-off home run against Texas A&M to win the SEC regular season championship. Takes a strike. And some jeers from the crowd after some balls that they felt were questionable by home plate umpire Chelsea Clark. Here comes the 0-1 from Ava Brown.
Now, this crowd will let you know that you have a home field advantage here if you're wearing blue and orange. That's for sure. They're going to be on your side every step of the way. It's a good swing right there.